Hi folks, we're here and we're going to be looking at the word flash. Okay, so what you just saw, I've got a duplicate and one does the fill and the other one does the outline. So to get going, just drag and drop it into the timeline. Text is black, so background is black, so I'm just going to change it to a little orange. There it goes. And what's happening? Sorry about that. Okay, what's happening is it's got a fit to width effect, which has been enabled, and you can disable it. And when you disable it, it will work with the text size or font size. Yeah. And of course, if you enable it, font size will be disregarded. And very quickly, we're looking at HD 1080, but I'm just going to do a quick switch to 1080 by 1080 just to show you the adaptive feature works. Right, so if I enable the picture frame, it works that way. So I'm going to switch back to HD 1080. And it works perfectly. So, got an outline. What else we're going to look at? Oh, very importantly, it works by changing the text, and your text input actually it's like this. It's one line or multiple lines, and each line will be displayed for the duration specified in the animation frame hold property here. So it's been set to 7 frames now, so each line of text that you input will be displayed for 7 frames. Now you can't keyframe in the Essential Graphics panel. I have not made any keyframing features or features available. So the way to work around it is to go to the start right here at this frame, this word start. So you cut it up there, select it, and if you watch some of my other tutorials on the adaptive text tool, you'll know that once you cut a MoGRT up, you obviously get 2 MoGRTs. What's not so obvious is although they share the same, they have the same properties and values. Once you cut them up, they become independent of each other. So for the second part, I'm going to lower the frame hold duration to only 2 frames. So each line of text that you input here will only be on screen for 2 frames, so it speeds up a lot. Now, preview is pretty crappy in Premiere Pro when it comes to getting consistent frame rates. Previews for MoGRTs do not provide a consistent frame rate playback. So it's a bit awkward when you're looking at this effect, which requires a consistent frame rate. So you gotta trust the MoGRT, and you'll only get proper previews if you do a proper preview or proper rendered preview. Now, what else is there? Yeah, there's a fixed baseline or text height, and what happens here is it actually works with the idea that you want a consistent baseline. We're dealing now with all caps, so you don't have ascenders or descenders. If you had small letters, then you would see the ascenders and descenders at play. So you got additional options with this guy here. There's auto position, so you can drop it top left, but I've got fit to frame enabled. If I disable it, then you can see it in better action. Okay, let's center it, and I can still do a fit to frame with which I can also adjust to make it less than full frame width. Right now I'm gonna set it to 75%. Okay, to create the effect that we saw at the start, I'm gonna duplicate. I just alt and drag. I'm gonna disable the top, and for the bottom set it to outline, and I'm gonna set text opacity to 45%. The top layer shares the same properties, but for this one, I'm gonna make it smaller in terms of the width and the size. I've already enabled fit to frame, so I'm just gonna make it a bit smaller. So we've got two copies, and timing's the same, so you get a nice interesting effect, very similar, well not very similar, identical to the settings that I had right at the start. Now another interesting thing you can do with this effect is this. Let me set this to here. Center the text height. So with this, what I've done is the input looks like this. I've got different words, and I'm building up a sentence essentially. So I start with one word, and then go on to two words, three words, and then towards the end it forms a line or a sentence. See that? So pretty interesting. And that last line stays on a lot longer. I've repeated it well, I've done a number of repeats, so it stays on screen longer, because that's the only way you can get it to stay for a much longer period, so at least your viewers can read the bloody text, right? There you go. And this thing loops, as you can see. Just gotta watch out, since it loops, you gotta watch out where the out point is. And once you catch the out point, you do a cut. Okay, I'm just gonna trim it there. So there's a nice loop now. Alrighty. Now, one thing that's not so obvious is you can do a frame hold. So if you wanted to hold at the last frame here, just duplicate, select this guy, and bring on your frame hold options and frame hold on source time code, and you can drag it here. So what's going to happen now is once it reaches here, it's gonna do a frame hold. Alrighty, it's okay, that's it. Cheers, bye bye.